Okay, thank you very much. As I mentioned earlier, at MBRRACE, we're trying to work and support healthcare professionals in determining signs of life in babies born before 24 weeks gestation, where there's been a discussion with parents and a decision not to initiate active survival care. Sadly, we know some babies are born too early in pregnancy to survive following birth. Babies born before 22 weeks are so small that their lungs and other organs aren't developed enough for them to live more than a few minutes or hours after they're born, even with the very best neonatal care available. And some of these tiny babies die before or during birth, while some babies may show signs of life for a short time after birth. And this also applies to some babies born at 22 or 23 weeks of pregnancy. Survival may be possible in some cases for babies born this early, but that's not always the case. And sometimes doctors and parents will decide that the best thing for a baby born so early is to focus on their comfort. So we've highlighted at these meetings before the wide inconsistencies in the way babies born at these extremely early gestations are reported as either a neonatal death or a late miscarriage or late fetal loss. And helping doctors, midwives and nurses with the assessment of signs of life in newborn babies who are born before 24 weeks of pregnancy will help to ensure that families are cared for in a consistent way, and that can help contain the distress and confusion experienced by parents at this very difficult time. And it also reduces the wide differences in birth and death certification and registration practice, including official reporting to the coroner or the procurator fiscal. And that will allow appropriate comparisons of perinatal mortality rates between organisations to aid assessment of care quality. So we brought together a multidisciplinary group of stakeholders from the Royal Colleges, clinical organisations, government representatives, charities supporting bereaved parents and academics. And we got together to try and develop an approach. And last year, following a large public consultation, we released the MBRRACE-UK guidance regarding the determination of signs of life. And since then, we've been working on some resources, and today we wanted to give you an early preview of the support video we're developing for healthcare professionals. Just to reiterate, it's a very early preview. We're delighted that we've got some clinicians taking part in developing it, and we're waiting to add their sections in, so you'll have to cope with hearing my voice for those parts today. When we do release it, there'll be two videos. This longer video we're showing describing the full context of the guidance, and then also a short informative video for refreshing key issues when attending a birth before 24 weeks. And I'd like to thank everyone who's taken part in developing the video, and also the parents who we interviewed as part of the Health Talk project, whose voices you'll hear. I'd also like to thank the DIPEX charity for putting the video together for us. And the creation of this video was funded by an extremely kind donation from a family who established a small fund to support research that will prevent other families experiencing the same pain. And we're incredibly appreciative of that. So I'll hand over to the video now. Thank you.
It is extremely distressing for parents to find out that their baby is going to be born too early for them to survive. As a healthcare professional, supporting parents through this devastating event can be difficult and stressful for you. This video is based on the MBRRACE-UK Signs of Life guidance, which has been developed with healthcare professionals and parent advocates to support staff in providing consistent care. At this very early stage, some babies may die during labour or birth, while others may show some signs of life. There is wide variation in the reporting of signs of life. This affects whether the baby's birth is reported as a miscarriage or registered as a live birth. and then a neonatal death. This can lead to distress and confusion for parents. It also affects the accuracy of national pregnancy, birth and neonatal death data. This guidance aims to support you to have effective and consistent communication with families, preparing them for what to expect. Observe signs of life in a sensitive and respectful way. Know when a doctor is required to attend to confirm live birth, so that a death certificate can be completed later on. Make a bereavement care plan with parents and document the birth appropriately. Following this guidance will help you give consistent care to families and increase the accuracy of birth and death statistics in the UK.
And that really confused me. I remember feeling really confused and going, well, why am I going to deliver the baby? I just didn't understand at the time. It didn't compute that actually I was having a baby. I think in the back of my mind I thought that they'd be able to put her back in, or because she wasn't ready to come out.
Parents should feel informed and involved in the compassionate care of their baby. Where possible, have honest, open conversations with them before the birth. Early and clear communication can avoid misunderstanding and distress later on. Actively listen and take the lead from the parents regarding how they talk about the pregnancy. If they have named the baby, use the baby's name when you are talking to the parents. When a decision has been made with the parents that it would be best for the baby not to be given active survival-focused care, talk to them about what to expect after birth. Let parents know there is a high chance that their baby may die before or during birth. Explain that if their baby does survive birth, they may show signs of life for a few minutes or occasionally for as long as a few hours. Signs of life can include breathing, movements, or a visible heartbeat. Do tell parents that when a baby has died shortly before being born, they may sometimes show brief reflex movements of the chest or their arms and legs in the first minute after birth. These reflex movements are not signs of life. Reassure parents that comfort care will be provided for their baby. They will be cared for gently and carefully, and they will not suffer. If you are working in England, Wales or Northern Ireland, tell the parents that if their baby shows signs of life, a doctor will come to see their baby. Be clear that this is to confirm that the baby is showing signs of life and not to reassess whether the decision to provide comfort care was appropriate. In Scotland, the process is different and this is not required. Instead, the midwife will discuss the signs of life observed with a doctor later. The doctor is not required to assess the baby while they are alive. Make a plan with the parents about what they would like to happen. Document this so that parents don't have to keep answering the same questions. Parents are likely to need small pieces of information repeated more than once, before, during, and following birth. Communication should be clear, consistent, and honest. Ensure that parents feel informed and listened to.
And talk to me before I got to that real end stage of labour, when you were a bit more coherent. They had talked to me about what I wanted to happen. Did I want to see him? Did I want skin-to-skin contact? Did I want him cleaned up before they gave him to me? What wanted? Did want or me want to cut the umbilical cord? You know, every option was offered to us, and yeah, they basically did whatever I wanted. They would have taken him away and I'd never have seen him if that's what I wanted.
It is important to assess the baby after birth. A baby has signs of life if there are persistent, readily evident visible signs. These would include one or more of the following: easily visible heartbeat seen through the chest wall, visible pulsation of the cord after it has been clamped, breathing, crying or sustained gasps, definite movement of the arms and legs. Reflex activity may be seen in babies that have died shortly before birth. These include short gasps, brief visible pulsation of the chest wall, twitches or involuntary muscle movement. Reflex activity like this in the first minute after birth, which then stops, does not constitute signs of life.
Following the birth, observe for signs of life in a respectful way while holding or wrapping the baby. And this can be done in a way that's not intrusive. For example, you don't need to use a stethoscope. Allow parents time with their baby if they wish, and take into consideration parents' wishes and values, as not all families will want to see their baby straight away or while their baby's still alive. If there are any signs that the baby may be in pain or uncomfortable, provide appropriate comfort care following a perinatal palliative care pathway.
So we delivered Henry, and then the placenta wouldn't come out. I don't really know what they were doing at that point, because I was just thinking, he's alive at the moment, so you just have to, I don't know how long his heart is going to be beating for. So everything that I need to say to him, I need to say right now, regardless of what they're doing. I've got, this tiny bit of time where he would be able to hear me, hear my voice. Yeah.
In England, Wales and Northern Ireland, a death certificate can only be issued if a doctor has seen the baby alive. And if signs of life are thought to be present, it's important to call a doctor, usually an obstetrician, to confirm this. The aim is not to provide active survival-focused care, but to support the parents. And if the doctor has been able to confirm signs of life, they will later on then be able to complete a death certificate for the baby. If a doctor doesn't see the baby alive, then the death has to be referred to the coroner to authorise the issuing of a death certificate. And this can add to parents' distress and delay funeral arrangements. But where that's happened, explain to the parents that as the baby died before a doctor was able to confirm signs of life, that the coroner will be informed to certify the death. It's usually preferable for the baby to be seen by a member of the obstetric team rather than the neonatal team, as calling a neonatologist might result in confusion for the family and sometimes for staff. Ensure the obstetric team are aware they may be called, so they're prepared when they come and see the family. In Scotland, due to differences in process, this isn't required, and the midwife will discuss with the doctor about the signs of life that are present without a doctor being required to attend while the baby's still alive.
Good bereavement care is vital. Make a bereavement care plan with the parents. Give information about options for making memories, and ensure parents can spend time with their baby if they wish. Care should be parent-led. Give parents time to make decisions and decide what is right for them. There is no right or wrong. Follow the guidance from the National Bereavement Care Pathway or your hospital's own locally adapted pathway. Information on accessing bereavement care support should be given to parents. If the baby is born showing signs of life, some parents may want to hold their baby while they are alive, and they should be given the privacy and time that they need. They may want time alone with the baby, or to have a member of staff present to support them. If the parents choose not to be present, then care of the baby should follow their wishes and be given in an appropriate environment. When the midwife suspects the baby has died, a doctor will need to confirm it. This should be undertaken sensitively. After their baby's death, allow parents to be alone with their baby in a quiet and private space for as long as they wish.
Yeah, it was joyful. So we really like to have those. He was alive for 2 hours. Have those 2 hours just holding him and taking pictures and some videos and
to him.
yeah, that was just really nice to be able to do that and enjoy that time.
Yeah, that felt like quite a gift,
Yeah.
considering the circumstances.
A birth and death certificate, I think they just give your baby that bit more dignity, rather than you wouldn't feel that you'd need to explain it so much, or like how you're feeling. It's like and it's almost like a recognition of your grief. Like if you got that birth and death certificate, like they were here and then they died, and like the way you're feeling is valid.
In England, Wales and Northern Ireland, if it is not possible for a doctor to attend in time to witness signs of life, the doctor and the attending midwife or other healthcare professional should discuss sensitively together to decide if signs of life were present. They should include the parents' observations if the parents wish to share them. In this situation, explain to the parents that the coroner will be informed in order to certify the death. In Scotland, a doctor can rely on the observations of an attending midwife to confirm live birth. If the baby showed no signs of life, document the late miscarriage. When a baby is born before 24 weeks of gestation and does not show signs of life, the birth cannot be registered. Sensitively offer the option of a hospital certificate of baby loss or certificate of birth and naming of their baby as ways of recognising their baby. Many hospitals have voluntary certificates, but they can also be found through the SANS website and the National Bereavement Care Pathway. If the baby showed signs of life, a neonatal death certificate must be issued by a doctor. In England, Wales and Northern Ireland, this must be the doctor who witnessed the signs of life. In Scotland, a doctor can issue a death certificate based on the observations of the attending midwife or healthcare professional. If the baby is born alive, explain to the parents that they will need to register their baby's birth and death. Help them to make the appointment with the registrar.
And I knew a lot of other people who had had babies similar time as us, similar week, but had been treated not badly, but they felt that they had been treated as if they'd had a miscarriage. Whereas actually we very much felt like they had treated us as if we'd had a stillborn baby, even though that wasn't the medical time. But the midwives as well, they provided everything for us that they would for a stillborn baby. So because he couldn't get a birth certificate because 10 days short of his 24 weeks, but they actually have a small birth certificate which they gave to us, and the midwife did his handprints and footprints for us, which is lovely, and we were allowed to spend as much time in the room as we wanted. And we did actually have a few family members, grandparents, who actually came up and saw him, and they were allowed to come and go as and when they wanted.
supporting families following the death of a baby can also affect you emotionally. Look for support and speak to colleagues. We hope that this video and the MBRRACE-UK Signs of Life guidance will help you ensure families get effective, consistent, high-quality care at this difficult time. For more information, please see the guidance on the MBRRACE-UK webpage and other resources such as the National Bereavement Care Pathway.
So thank you for listening, and thanks again to everyone who's helped with this. We hope to make the final version available in the next few weeks, and it will be available on the Health Talk website with links from the MBRRACE website and from the Royal Colleges. In the meantime, please continue to access the guidance, and we look forward in the future to reporting how things are changing in the UK about the consistency of reporting of these very early births. Thanks very much.